You guys told me to read this book, so I did. And I am so happy I did. I am so happy that you told me to read it. And I listened to you. We are talking The Four Winds by Kristin Hannah. And I'm going to try to make it through this very short book review without crying. Bring on the tissues. In a good way, though. Everyone was like, it's depressing. I didn't find it. First of all, we're talking about the depression. What did you think it was going to be? Like a happy book? You know me. I love my Danielle Steele books because I love a happy ending. I didn't find this ending that unhappy. I found it full of hope. If you did, you need to think about it a little bit differently, because sometimes the way we want it to end and the way it ends is not the same, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And with Kristin, you're gonna get real. Kristin does real. She made me feel like I was right there. This is a part of history that we didn't learn about in school. You learned about the Depression, but did we know what was going on with the farms? Did we know what was going on with their drought? How those people were starving, everything about the whole area. I found it absolutely fascinating. I loved every word. This book is probably up in my top 5 books right now. And especially for this year, for sure. For this year, it's probably number 1 at the moment. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure it is number 1 on the New York Times bestseller. It came out February 2nd. It has been there since. There is a reason it is there. You need to read this book. It is going to be a classic. That's what I predict. I really do. I think this book is going to go on to be a classic. The relationships. Let's start. Let's just dive into the relationships. We have Elsa. She has a relationship with her mother-in-law that I wish I could have had, because I grew up with my mom and my grandmother, who were mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, and they had a business together and they worked with each other every single day, and they had an amazing relationship. My dad died. They stayed close. They made it through it together, and that's what these women remind me of. Elsa and her mother-in-law have to go through so much, and her mother-in-law ends up respecting her. I'm getting emotional already. Her mother-in-law just loves her as her own daughter. I think that's what I was always looking for in a relationship with my mother-in-law, and I've had 2 of them. I think that's what I was looking for. Now, being a mother-in-law, I want to be that, but sometimes life doesn't throw you that. I would love to have that, but I have 2 daughters too. I don't know what that dynamic is, but then we have the relationship, the mother-daughter relationship with Elsa and her daughter, Loretta. I listened to this book, and I cannot stress highly enough that you need to listen to this book. Do not buy the book. No. I'm going to buy the book to put on my bookshelf so that I can look at it every once in a while. So you can do that. Buy the book and then go listen to the book, because the woman who does the Audible is incredible. I could not stop listening to this book. I took it everywhere with me. It is a long book. It is 464 pages, but I was sad when I came to the end of it. But another reason for you to get the audio is that Kristin does an interview at the end where she answers all kinds of questions about the book. If that is not worth the price of the audio, I don't know what else to say. That in itself is worth the interview that she does at the end. You find out how she wrote this book, and you also find out something very sad, which is there is not going to be another one. She does not do series. I guess I knew that, but I'd have to go back and look at her books. Now I have to read all of them. The Great Alone, and I love that. But this one, I'm like, okay, I'm going back. I'm going back and reading old Kristin Hannah. And no, we're not going to get another one. So she said once she's done with them, she's done. So she's already moved on to her newest project. She is not a 1 book a year author. I'll have to look, but I think The Great Alone was like 2 years ago. And I think that was her last one. If I'm wrong, let me know, because I'm pretty sure that was her last one. Nightingale was before. I don't know. I didn't read Nightingale though. That has to happen, like for sure. But I have to come away from this. I sat down at the end of this book last night. I did the last chapter, had the most ugly cry I've had in a long time, but I'm not sad about it because it was that good. I'm not sad. It was a good cry. It was hope. That's what I want you to get from this book. Because of everything, and she even says it when she does the interview, this book is about hope. This is about getting through things and how we get through things, and about the next generation and then the next generation. Sometimes there are things that weren't meant for our generation. I love the part about the unions because my dad was in a union. So it was really interesting to see what was going on with the unions in the 1930s. I loved that. His dad fought for the Mack trucks, which is the union my dad was involved in. His dad was one of the first, he was the first generation to fight for unions for the UAW, which then provided my family with a pretty decent middle class where he had to starve a lot. So sometimes it wasn't about that. And we find that out in the book. They realized it wasn't just about for them. It was about for the future generations. So I loved that part. And for you reviewers, and then I'm going to end this, for you reviewers who somehow thought this book was about communism and that buying it was putting money towards communism, who are you people? That had such a little tiny part in this story. She had to tell the story. She didn't make it up. It's historical fiction. There are parts of this story that are true. Most of it with historical fiction, they stick to the facts. This book was not about communism. Please, people, please do not buy into that because it is not true. You do need to read this book. Go get it. Go buy the book. Go get the audio. Let me know if you've already read it. I want to know what you thought of it. And thank you.